Welcome to another series. I know I sound like a tool when I say it that way. So today we have a soft winding amphibia. This is from the USSR. Black hands, date function, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to take this apart, take it down to do a dial change, as it were. So I'm going to try to speed things up. I can get long-winded. So I already have the locking ring loose. That's been self-explained before. So off with our case. This is something I've had that needs servicing. It's just been sitting around waiting, and that's why I don't have any gloves on. So if I put fingerprints all over this, I don't care. So the first thing I want to do, I want to get this rotor off. Fairly simple. One screw off with the rotor. The reason we have to take the rotor off, we have to get that spacer ring out, and you can't get the rotor off, or you can't get the spacer ring off with the rotor installed. Another thing I like to do is let the mainspring down. I let them wind down naturally. Sometimes dealing with the click can be a little bit of a hassle. So I'm going to let the mainspring down. And it's already let down, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, technically, well, not technically, to do the job right, you have to do these next steps. You have to take off, I call this the rotor bridge, the winding bridge, winder bridge, because we need to get to that second hand pinion down there. Now, a lot of people will say take off this little Geister keeper to pull these gears out, wheels, whatever you want to call them. This is in fact a Geister keeper. That's what I call it. So that's a technical term. Sometimes it's connected to the Framets, but not always. Geister keepers come in a variety of styles and colors. Geister keepers are very similar to trunnion bearings. If anybody knows what a trunnion is, you'll know they have a bearing. So this is held on by 3 screws, and I believe the screws are all the same thread pitch. Okay, there's 2. 1, 2, 3. Did I take a wrong screw out? No. We got one here, we got one here, we've got one here. Huh, did you see that first screw I took out? I didn't even catch that, you dummy. So, I'm looking at my screws going, uh-oh. I have a screw loose. Well, no kidding. That one is the first one I took out. That is a mounting screw that goes on to the spacer ring movement holder. You know what it is? I'm not lubricated. That's better. Got a little bit of a Chardonnay going. So how does this come off? Sometimes there's a little bit of tension build up from the auto winder assembly. So I like to put a finger on things. These are pinned in place. There's a pin right there, and then there's a pin right over here. Doesn't seem to have any excitement so far. So there's the bridge. We have a couple of gears or wheels, whatever you want to call them, reversers. I know that, and we have an intermediate. We have I think that's a one-way clutch type thing. I actually don't know. I like to feel these to see if there's any tension on them. Doesn't appear to be. But if you just notice, it did spin a little bit. So it did have a little bit of tension on it. If there was a lot of tension on there, one of them wheels would have come flying out. If I can only pick this up properly. Come on. So there's one wheel. These are identical. They don't belong one place or another. They are the same. Let's get that out of there. There's our second wheel. And whoopsie. Don't drop it into the hairspring like I just did. Dummy. I'm telling you, I'm not lubricated. And the final one is right there. So when you go to turn the movement over, none of these parts are going to fall out on you. And we have access to this pinion spring. Okay, our hands are lined up pretty close. I like that. I'm going to take this other mounting screw out. Why not? You don't have to right now. I could have done it when it was out of the case. So, removal of the stem, same as before. Give it a little press. There you go. And flip it over. There's our movement. And our spacer ring comes right out with it. I'm going to put this in, just lay this on top of a plastic movement holder. I don't really tighten it, just lay it in there and off with the hands. Straightforward stuff. This protector's getting a little banged up. I need to get a new one. Come on. Maybe I'm in too much of a hurry. Hey, stupid, slow down. Are we even in the shot? That'd be a nice thing, too. I have a glass of wine. Well, thank you. Pretty straightforward stuff. We're coming off with hands. There's the second hand. Here comes the minute hand. My lighting is changing. Minute hand. Hour hand. Beautiful. Lovely thing. Isn't that nice? I may do this in 2 parts. I may do this in 1 part. I don't know. I'll see how long it goes. If it gets long-winded, I'll do it in 2 parts. So now we have access to... Oh, before we do anything, let's put that stem back in. I'm going to come in, kind of turn it back and forth, give it a click. There it is. Okay, stem is in, so we don't lose any gearing in the keyless works. There's our little dial foot mounting screw. Loosen a few turns. Come over here. Same thing. Drop your screwdriver. Hopefully that was in the shot. And that should pop right off. No problem. So there is the underside of the dial, the top side of the movement. And if you notice, there's no that gear right there. The minute hand is underneath this plate along with that bevel washer, so you don't really have to worry about it. If you're interested, I got some time here. Let's show how that date jumper works. I may have done this on other videos, but it's always nice to refresh and rehash. Hopefully I can keep this in focus. So there you have it, the 2928 marker. We're gonna back, this is going backwards. We're backing up. And we're waiting for that pin. Okay. Right there, that happens about 8 or 9 o'clock 20 or 2100 hours, and it comes along and snaps it over. Pretty slick. It snaps it pretty quick, not like some Seikos, which might take an hour to get over, but it's pretty slick. And you can see how that gear and that window and that pin work, snaps right over. That's a beautiful thing. So that's it. Now you're ready to put on a new dial. I don't have one, so I'll just put the old one back on. Here's the underside of that dial with its corresponding feet. Dial feet, dial posts, I don't know what you want to call it. And the same thing here, just lay your dial in place. Of course we have to pick this up, and it doesn't require any tension to hold it. You're not going to grip this thing like a pair of vice grips and lean on that dial. You're just holding it with your fingers. Let's focus. And we're going to tighten up. And then we come around to this side. And if you notice, that top plate that houses the date ring, also underneath that is the keyless works. But I like to put the stem in as a habit. Let's do this the right way. Come on. You're trying to... What I'm actually trying to do is not look at the work I'm doing, but use the screen on my computer as if I'm looking right at it. Like I'm a surgeon doing arthroscopic surgery. Yeah, it's not working out so well. I've been successful at it other times, but not today so much. So there's our dial. Now people are going to ask, now you got to put the hands on. How do you do that when you have a date complication? Well, it's rather easy. Let's do this first before we move along. These movements are real nice to, what am I trying to say? They're real nice to grip in a movement holder when you have that ring on. So I'm putting this ring back on because it's got a nice even surface that I can grip it with. And this time I hope to grab the right screw. I hope to. So let's do that first. Let's mount that up. Gives it a nice purchase for the movement holder. Hey, it's in the shot. Getting lucky. And another screw coming over here. Wait, that doesn't look right. That's because it's not, dummy. These have rather large screw heads compared to other screws in the movement. And then everything is loose. I want to center that slot right there. There's our stem. I want it centered in there, and then I can tighten up on these. Give them a little tug. Beautiful. Now we can open up our movement holder. We could switch to a metal holder if we wanted to right now. I might just do that because it'll grip it better. Come on. You don't have to, whatever you have. So this is I wouldn't say critical. It is critical if you want your date changeover to be accurate. I'll do this several times. I will back this up. Or am I going the wrong way? I forget which way these advance. Either way, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep advancing or turn. Okay, here we go. Here comes the changeover. I'm slowly advancing. That is not the changeover. I was actually going backwards. Now I am advancing. You would think I know which way to turn a stem by now to advance the time. Okay, there's midnight. Now, is it really midnight? Well, I was kind of a little fast on the turn. So let's go back. When that 15 jumps, there you go. There's 2100 hours. We're coming forward, forward, and you really slow it down when it comes up to that time. Because I don't have an hour hand, I don't know exactly where it is. But all of a sudden it's going to jump. I think that's pretty close. You saw the jump. There it is. Let's put an hour hand on. We leave it right there. Grab the hour hand. This is another time where I like to just gently lay it in there. I'm going to square it off to the 12. Center it on the 12, center it on anything else that you might see there. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to lean on it with the tweezers. I'm not going to set it because I'm a little goofy. I'm anal about these things. Now we can see, okay, here comes 2100 hours, and you can see at the 9 o'clock how that 16 is starting to jump, backed up. Okay, so right around 2100 hours. We're going to come forward. Let's stand this up so we have a nice view. So let's see how close we get this to jumping at the 12 o'clock hour. That's pretty darn close. I'm going to nail it down. The other critical thing is, where does that minute hand end up? That's going to be critical as well, because we don't want this too far off. So let's go backwards and get that as slick as we can get it. I've had some of these where right at the 12 o'clock mark they snap right over. Usually it's a minute. Coming up slowly. Look at that. That's pretty darn close. Now, is it going to be close with the minute hand? That's the test. So here comes our minute hand. Same thing. Lay it in. Position it. Line it up. Tinker. Fiddle fart around. That looks pretty good to me. It's lined up on the hour marker. It's lined up on the hour hand. I'm going to come in and just nudge that a little bit. I just nudged it. Just a nudge. It's not seated, so if I have to take it off, it won't be a big deal. So there we go. Coming back around. How close are we going to be for a one-time? Of course, if I was actually doing a service and building this, I would probably be doing it 18 times. So here we are, 3 minutes till midnight. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Oh, look at that. Right at the 1 minute mark. 11:59, it snaps over. You know what? That's good enough for me. I could tinker with this and fiddle fart around, and I probably would if I was servicing this, but you get the idea. Look at that hand alignment. Nice and level and flat and slick. It's a beautiful thing. So on to the second hand. pick it up. There's our second hand. And that is just barely laying on that pinion. Just barely. And I like to do things a little differently, as you've seen. Hopefully it doesn't fall out on me, which it just did. Uh-oh. Okay, I just lost my minute hand. So, and I think I know why. I didn't put enough pressure on that. So here is our second hand, not minute hand. Dope. I think the problem is I'm not getting enough pressure on that pinion on the back side. So I need to back it up. I forget how I used to do these. I think I used to put them on the... Shoot. Did you see that? I'm sure you did. Well, here's what happened. I bumped it and my second hand took off. And I have no idea where it is. So, it's probably on my floor. I'm going to stop right now and restart when I locate that second hand.